In the last lesson, we have learned how we could change the display property using CSS. Now, in this lesson, we are going to explore CSS positions. But before we do so, we have to understand how our HTML elements get positioned by default before we use position property to change it. So let's quickly go through the rules. So the first rule is the order your elements are displayed on the screen will be in the same order as they are written in the HTML file. So for example, if in your HTML file, if you have written the heading first and then the paragraph and then an image, then in the same order it will be rendered on the screen. So like the first, the heading will appear, then second, the paragraph will appear, and then the image. So next, see the second rule. If one block level element sits inside another block level element, then the outside box is called the parent element. So what does it mean? For example, it is common to group multiple elements inside a div, and so the divs are the parent element of these two paragraphs and this image, and these two paragraphs and image are the child element of this div. Div is the parent and these inside are the child elements. That's it. Now let's look at the CSS position property. So the position property specify where an element is located on a page. So the position property can be set to one of these 5 values: static, relative, absolute, fixed, and sticky. So first let's look at the static position. All HTML elements are in static position by default. In here I have opened a new HTML file, and inside here I have written one heading and then gave 3 divs, and then inside each div I have written a paragraph, and each paragraph and divs have a class, different classes. Then CSS, I have styled the paragraphs by giving them a width and a background color. So the position of these elements that we see on the screen are static, and if we don't change the position of these elements in the CSS, then the element's position remains static. So the static is the default value. We don't have to explicitly write it in the position property in our CSS file. Next, let's see the relative value. So relative positioning will move an element from the default static position, or you can say from the normal position, and it uses these offset properties, top, bottom, left, and right, to specify how far to move the element from where it would have been in static. And if you don't use these offset properties with the relative property, then the relative value, only setting the relative value, would do nothing on our screen. So now let's see some examples. In our HTML file, we have a second paragraph. So let's change the position of this second paragraph to relative instead of static, which is the default. So position relative, and then next let's write push the element like left 100 pixels. So what does this left 100 pixels means? that push the element, this paragraph element, 100 pixels from the left of the previous position. So this paragraph will be pushed 100 pixel away to the right. So let's save it and see. So yeah, so this is basically saying that the our second paragraph should have a left margin between the paragraph where it is currently is and where it used to be. So this space in here is 100 pixels. Okay, and then let's use another offset property of top, and then let's specify 100 pixels. Well, let's increase this. Let's try it 200. So it will be moved 200 pixels, and then it the top value will push our paragraph element 100 pixels down. So let's save it and see what happens. Yes, our paragraph element has been pushed 200 pixel to the right and then 100 pixel down. And then one thing you have to keep in mind is that when we change the position to relative, like moving it down using the top value, the other positions, it doesn't affect the position of the other elements. Like everything remains the same. Like this text is overlapping with the third paragraph, but still the position of the third paragraph remains as it is, the way it had been before, static. It didn't affect the position of the other paragraphs. So let's change the position of the paragraph 1. Let's use the bottom. First specify position relative, and then if we write bottom (50 pixels), then this first paragraph will be moved 50 pixels at the top from where it is currently is to 50 pixels. So it has been moved 50 pixels upwards. So that's it for the relative positioning.